All right, welcome back to the No Quarter Given podcast. We have a great guest for you, a very, very good player in Bucs history, Michael Husted, former kicker of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 6 years he played with the Bucs from 93 through 98. He was an undrafted free agent out of Virginia, kicked 117 career field goals with the Buccaneers, played 9 years in the NFL, 6 of them with the Buccaneers, kicked 142 field goals in his career. Tremendous career. Was a 1993 all-rookie team member, all-rookie team selection as a kicker for the Buccaneers. Welcome into the podcast, Michael.
Hey, man, Jason, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to share some stories and, talk about the Bucs.
I hear you. All right, first question I got to ask you, man. How cool was it when Chris Berman comes up with Michael Como Está Husted nickname for you very early on in your career?
Yeah, it's definitely a name that has followed me around. I've met so many people that, they'll hear my first name and they're like, you kicker, in the NFL. What's your last name? And I'll go Houston. Like, you're Como Está Husted, But in all fairness, I have a really good friend from growing up. His name is Paul Richardson, and he's the one that first came up with the name.
Okay.
So we were in high school, and I took French, and he and a good buddy of mine, Corey Carwell, took Spanish, and at the same time, and across the hall, and they walk out of class, I walk out of class, and I hear him down the hall going, "Como está, Mike Husted?" and so that happened way back in 10th grade, so it was at 1986 or whatever. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of the cooler names, and it's noticeable, and I'm stoked to have.
That's right. All right, so you grew up in Virginia, is that right?
Correct, Hampton, Virginia.
Okay, so talk to me about I want to ask you about your Virginia career. You went and you played at the University of Virginia. You were teammates with Tiki and Rondé at Virginia, correct?
No, they actually got in a year after me. I was a teammate with Rondé, obviously in Tampa.
Right.
But it was part of the Virginia team that we were ranked number 1 for 3 weeks back in 1990. We had Sean Moore, Herman Moore, Terry Kirby, Chris. They're from the Tidewater area. I mean, the list goes on and on. Is pretty spectacular time, and a good time to be part of the Cavaliers.
I was gonna say the game I want to recall was the showdown you guys had with Georgia Tech when you were like 1-3 in the country and all that good stuff in Charlottesville. I actually watched like an hour-long documentary they did on like the ACC channel about that. Talk to me about you were in that game. Talk to me about that emotion of that game and the electricity in that stadium.
Yeah. I mean, we were ranked first, and Georgia Tech. Obviously that's the year they went and had a co-national championship with Colorado. Their kicker was Scott Sisson, who I'm friends with. It was just back and forth duel. I think they had Sean Jones as their quarterback.
Right.
It was just a great game, and that's what you live for. That's what college football is all about, to play in these big games. And it basically came down who had the ball last, and unfortunately they had the ball last, and Sisson hit the game winner to beat us.
I want to welcome in Peter Blake. Peter's my co-host on the No Quarter Given podcast. Michael Husted, Peter Blake, welcome in.
What's
Peter?
going on, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, good, man. How are you, Peter?
Good to go. Why do you think it's such a tough transition for kickers from college football to transition over to the National Football League?
It goes either way, right? So it comes down to your mental state of mind and mental strength. You look at someone like Robbie Gould, who's been kicking forever. I believe he was like a 60% field goal kicker at Penn State.
Right.
Gets to the NFL and look what he's done in his career. So, and then the flip side is unfortunately, someone like Robert Aguayo, who had a great, college career, gets drafted second by the Bucs and then just can't get it together, So it's definitely, there's a lot of pressure, especially when you're a high draft pick like that. I think, a lot of times pressure is what you put on yourself. For me, I was like, I was at the bottom of the barrel. I mean, there was 4 of us in training camp. I was undrafted. You had Eddie Murray, another guy that Chase May had their draft pick, Darren Alcorn and me. So, it was more of the underdog, and I would always relish that underdog position. But it's totally 90% of what we do, and it separates the men from the boys.
All right, so I want to hit on your journey to the NFL. Obviously, you were undrafted free agent, first of all, how many opportunities did you have? Was the Buccaneers the only opportunity that you had, or did you have an opportunity to pick the Buccaneers from a couple of teams?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Jason. And so, after I was 13 to 16 my senior year, only did field goals 2 years, kicked off for all four, and was known for my kickoffs. And then so it was after our season was done, and at that time a lot of scouts start coming in. They're asking to look for film, and like I said, that's when we had Terry Kirby coming out. We had Chris Slade coming out. Probably had I think we had like 5 or 6 guys drafted, and our strength coach Sean Gamble one day pulled me aside and waited and goes, "Hey Michael, I know you saw these scouts coming in, and you're thinking they're after looking at these guys, but a lot of them are asking about you." And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." So I didn't get invited to the combine, didn't go to any of the all-star games, and then we had our pro day, and so I decided, well, no one had requested to work me out at the pro day, so when they were inside working all the other guys out, I just went in and went up to every single scout and said, "Hey, I'm Michael Husted, kicker. Can I just get 15 minutes of your time when you're done here? Take a look at me." And only one team came out. That was the Minnesota Vikings, and had literally probably the best day of kicking of my life. The only kick I missed was 65 off the left upright. I was drilling everything. He said, "Okay, give me 3 of your best kickoffs down the middle." I put them through the uprights. He said, "All right, I'm going to go to the right side, 5 yards deep in the end zone. I want you to try to hit me." 3 kicks, he had to move out of the way every time. Same way going left. Like I said, it's one of those things like, I couldn't have kicked any better ever. And so afterwards, he goes, "Hey, look," he goes, "you can kick in this league. We have a guy who was all pro Fuad Revets at the time."
Yeah.
He goes, "But I'm going to go back and write up a great report about you. All the teams get it." And so he did. And the next thing you know, Mel Kiper started to chirp about me. And then about 2 days later, the Bengals called me up and they want to work me out. So Marv Braden was their special teams coordinator at the time. He comes in town, takes me to the stadium, and it's probably like 40 degrees and drizzly. Brings out brand new, basically like K-balls. I mean, they were like diamond shaped, And back then, you could use a 3-inch kickoff tee still.
Right.
And so you could say, I did okay on field goals. Because let's try to kick off, and I looked at that thing. It looked like pair of women's high heels, right? I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? Take them off, but so I teed it up, and I never kicked off the 3-inch tee, so I was just cutting underneath the ball every single time. And he was like, "Okay, well, thank you," and he just kind of got in the car and left, Then about a week later, George Stewart, who's the special teams coach of the Buccaneers, called me up. Big deep voice. "Hey, Michael, it's George Stewart. I'm going to come in town and tomorrow, and I want to work you out." I'm like, "All right." So work out and start off kicking really well. Then a big storm kind of rolls through, so we have to go inside in the locker room, and about 45 minutes, and it was just us two, and we just started hitting it off and talking and telling stories, and go back out and finish the workout, and had a really solid workout. And he's like, "Hey, look, I really like what I see." He goes, it's our second year coming in with Sam Wyche, and we're looking to find a young kicker that can grow with our team that we're trying to build. And I said, "All right," and so the draft comes around, and prior to the year that I came out, the draft was 12 rounds,
right?
And they cut it down to 8 that year.
Yep.
And like when you got to the end of the draft, the Dolphins were calling me, the Vikings were calling me, and the Dolphins had Pete Stoyanovich, and the Vikings had Fuad Revez, and then their last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, the Bucs drafted Aaron Alcorn, but then the Bucs call, and so I told them, "I want to go to Tampa." I'm like, "I don't care. They drafted them the very last pick. They're trying to go young. I think that's my best opportunity to make a roster this upcoming year." And so, we signed, and then very next weekend was the mini camp. We actually had 5 kickers at the time. We had Ian Howifield, Eddie Murray who'd been with Detroit forever, this guy Tracy Bennett, and their draft pick Darren Alcorn, and then they cut Ian Howifield. They took 4 of us to training camp, and so every day in practice we were going live rush. We each had 4 kicks, and I think the first day those 3 guys go 3 or 4, and I go 2 or 4. And Jerry Angelo, who's the player personnel director at the time, comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Michael, Jerry Angelo." I was like, "Hey, nice to meet you." He's like, "You're at the bottom of the barrel here. You can't, have too many bad days." And I was like, "Nice to meet you too." Like that. I'm like, "All right, here we go. Welcome to the NFL." And so And then I start, getting on par with everybody else. And then we get to our first preseason game and we're playing the Broncos at home. And, like, well, how's our rotation going to go with 4 kickers? And
Right.
so I ended up getting like, I think the second kickoff, start second half or something. And they hit like 4-4 hang time, like 4 or 5 yards deep. And come off the field, Sam Wyche comes up and goes, "Hey, man, outstanding kick, great kick." And
There you go.
so I was like, "Thanks," And so next week we're all pretty even, and then we go up to Atlanta for a preseason game. And being from Virginia, my parents were going to drive down, and I was like, "Hey, look, hey, this is as far as it goes. My parents see me in a NFL uniform, and
Right.
hey, I'm good. They'll be happy. I can wash my hands, and then I can live with this." So and so while we're doing our pregame warm up, Tracy Bennett, who the previous year had been with the Denver Broncos, I'm like, "Hey, man, I thought you had a pretty good training camp. I saw the game where you went like 3 for 4. What happened?" He goes, "Yeah, so did I. I thought, hey, they're going to see what I can do." And I thought I did pretty well, but they cut me the very next day because they just wanted to get film on me so I could use that to showcase other teams. Literally, and I shit you not, 5 minutes after he's telling me the story, as we're wrapping up our pregame warm-up, George Stewart comes up and goes, "Hey, don't ask me why. I don't know. But Coach Wyche wants Houston to get all the kicks tonight." They're like,
Wow.
I look at Tracy, I'm like, "All right, hey, at least I get all the kicks tonight, and then we see what happens there." So I end up doing really well. All my kickoffs are great. And the very next day, they actually cut Garrett Alcorn. And I was like, "Oh, okay, wow." And so the next week of practice, I go 11 for 12. Eddie Murray goes 11 for 12. Tracy Bennett goes 3 for 12. And so they cut him before we get to our next preseason game, which was against the Bills in Orlando.
How do you deal with the anxiety as you get deeper into camp, knowing this could be a reality here, and my whole life might change economically, professionally, everything?
Yeah, it was so surreal that I didn't have time to stop and think about it, right? And so,
And back then they didn't have a practice squad. It's not like they could put you on the practice squad. You either made it or you didn't.
Yeah, I think because that was the first year of the new CBA. So I think that was the first year they actually, but they weren't going to waste it on a kicker back then,
Right.
I think you only had like 5 or 6 guys you could put on the practice squad back then. And so then it was just Eddie Murray and me. And I, so I go into that next game and I'm kicking off great. And I think I hit like, 1 or 2 field goals or something. And I was like, "Okay, hey, worst case scenario, I can be like the kickoff guy and long field goal guy. And, they'll keep Eddie and I can learn from him and all that." And, after the third preseason game, they released Eddie. And, Sam Wyche called me into his office, goes, "Hey, I just want you to know that you totally earned this job. You were given it. So congratulations." And, the story, my brother tells me a story about, I go to call home and back, that's when you had the answering machine still. And my brother was sleeping or something. And he hears, I leave the message. I go, "Mom, Dad, I made it." And they're like, "Call me back." And then, I go into, the 4th preseason game, do really well. And then, we open up that season opener against the Kansas City Chiefs. And that was the year that Joe Montana was there. And
Right.
I remember like halfway through my pregame workout, warm up, I see Joe, I used to be a huge 49ers fan. And I see Joe Montana come on the field for his pregame warm up. And I'm just stopped there like, "Oh, I got to finish my warm up," So but yeah, I mean, it's to be honest with you guys, like, people tell me, "Tom, I need to write a book." I mean, from how I got started, there's so many variables, and if one of them was out of place, it would have never happened. And so I tell guys now who are trying to make it, I'm like, "Hey, look, 25% of it is you have to have the skill set to do it. The other 25%, you got to execute when the opportunity presents itself. The other 50, luck, right? Being in the right place. If I wouldn't have gone to Tampa and I would have gone to like the Dolphins or the Vikings, I wouldn't have beaten those guys out, And so, very fortunate. Worked my butt off.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get into your career. So 93 starts with Sam Wyche. Talk to me about you knew it was kind of a rebuild. Sam was trying to get it going here in Tampa, Trent Dilfer and all that stuff going on. Talk about that being part of that growth process of a franchise trying to get back on the map.
Yeah. The first year, Craig Erickson was our coach. Our quarterback.
Right.
And, and so we had drafted Eric Curry out of Alabama first, Demetrius DeBose second, John Lynch third, and it's still all new, right? And I'm just like, oh, this is great, this is all fun. Like, I mean, like again, it was so surreal. I didn't have time to stop and think. And I like Sam a lot. He gave me an opportunity, and excuse me, and so I was just trying to do my part. I wasn't really thinking about being part of like a rebuilding of a program. I'm like, I'm just trying to do my job, right?
Stay around for the next week.
Yeah, right. And it's just a KISS principle, like keep it simple, stupid, right? And but it was great. It was exciting. I think we were 5-11. Next year, 6-10, and then the third year was when we started off 5-2.
The infamous 5-2 from Sam Wyche.
That's
5-2. It was on the billboards all down here. I remember that.
You created some game winners too. One of those against Minnesota. I mean, did you have a chip on your shoulder because you felt like Minnesota should have picked you at the time? I know you ended up with the Bucs, but you had some extra motivation there, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, the Viking, actually, not really, because the Viking scout was the one that kind of went back and wrote up that good report for me. Like I said, they had Fuad Revez, who was an All-Pro the year before. So, but it was a division rival, right? And so,
sure.
we were 3-2. Then we played the Bengals, big storm, and I hit a 53-yarder, and we won. Now we're 4-2. And the next week we're playing the Vikings, and that was a Sunday right before they had the vote for the new stadium for the half-cent sales tax.
Okay.
Right. So it was one of those things where, hey, look, hey, we don't win this
game. W sure would help here before Election Day.
Right.
Yeah, right. And as I recall, it barely passed anyway. And so, we, hit the game winner, 51-yarder in overtime. We're 5-2. We're first place in the Central Division. We're like, oh my God, like here we go. Like after so many decades, and a vote passes, right? So, on a side note, it's pretty funny because when I was with the Raiders, several years later, Sam Wyche was doing, broadcasting, and he pulled me in for a production meeting. And as I was walking out, he looked at me, he goes, "Hey, Michael," he goes, "you're the reason why they got that stadium in Tampa." And I said, "Only you and me, only you and me," right? And then just then we lost some, and then, we ended up 7-9 that year. And, and then I like Sam, and George Stewart is one of my favorite coaches, and they let go of the staff, and I was a restricted free agent, and so Sam went to the 49. George went to the 49ers. He said, "Hey, we're going to sign you to a restricted sheet." I'm like, "Man, I like the 49ers. Great. I always want to get up to the West Coast." And so I signed it. Reports I had heard were the Bucs weren't going to match it. They'd already hired Tony Dungy, and Tony Dungy calls me and says, "Hey, can you come into the office? I'd like to talk to you." And so I hadn't met him yet, and he sits me down and he goes, "Michael, you're not going anywhere." He's like, "We're going to match that offer sheet. You're going to be our kicker as we get this program going." And so I was like, "Oh, I was already out here in San Diego, and I'd put a deposit down on an apartment. Think I go back and forth from San Diego to San Francisco." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm staying in Tampa," right? And unfortunately, I did. Tony Dungy is I tell people, he's like the most Christ-like guy I've ever met. One of the most amazing men I know. Never heard him raise his voice. He never said a cuss word in his whole life, and it's just he walks the walk, and he's a man of he's salt of the earth, and so I was very fortunate to be able to play under him for 3 years, and that's we after first year with Tony, that's when we switched the uniforms, to the pewter.
Let's talk about '97. This year 2 of Tony. You guys make a run to the playoffs. Tony's finally getting the defenses in place. You got all the big boys on defense in place. You guys go 10-6. You get a wild card berth, and then you beat Detroit in the last game in Tampa Stadium. Talk about the electricity of that playoff game.
Yeah, it was amazing. That it's first of all, it's the first playoff game that we've been in 20-something years. Last game ever at the old Sombrero. And it was a home game, so it was a division rival, so it was pretty electric. I think my hair was standing up from, we take a balloon and you rub your hair and you hear that's how much electricity was going on in that stadium, and it was just insane. And I'll never forget. I just got goosebumps now thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And so it was just really, really remarkable time to be on the Bucs, to be in Tampa Bay. it really see the city just come alive and especially those people. When I first got to Tampa, you'd see all these people, like me, people going, I've been there since day one. I've been there since day one. And
Right.
so those are the people that you're like, you're stoked to win for, right? Because they've seen it all. They've seen the worst of it. And it was a really special time in my life and to be part of that team and be part of that city and and win that game and then move on to like the next divisional round against Packers.
You
Go,
talk
Peter.
about the pressure situations there. I mean, how do you put that out of your mind? How do you not think about, well, if I don't make this kick, basically my team loses the game. How do you deal with those pressure situations as a kicker, Michael?
Well, like if you're have to give a big speech in front of like a large crowd, don't they say like try to picture them in their underwear, right? So it's, no, but for some reason I've always had the ability, like when I go onto the field, I just kind of everything becomes white noise. It's one of those things where I just I don't hear anything. I go down, and that's something that just I don't know if it's just all athletes do it. I know other people have said the same thing, and the trick is just get out of your own way, right? And so I tell guys just check your mind at the door. You don't think, and so but there's pressure. Obviously, anybody says that they don't have pressure or they don't feel pressure, they're lying. I remember watching an interview with Jerry Rice. He was with the Raiders. He said, "Man, I've been playing for 18 years." He goes, "I still get nervous on game day."
Yeah.
And it's all about how you manage it. I did a lot of breathing techniques, and it's a three-pronged approach as far as being a professional athlete. You've got to practice on the field, have your skill set there. Be in the weight room. But a lot of things that people don't really focus on is the mental training aspect of it. When you go to the weight room, you have a program that you follow. So mentally, I had a mental training program that I used to follow, and that way, when I just got to the game, I would just focus on my breathing and let my body do the work.
Talk about just in general being a professional athlete. You have great highs, you have lows as a kicker. Obviously, like I tell kids, I didn't tell you this, Michael, but I was a kicker in high school and college as well. Unlike every other position, you get one down. If you're a left tackle and you blow first down at 2nd and 12, where the kicker, you don't get a redo. You don't get to, we don't get to do it again. So talk about the like I said, the keeping the even keel and just the ability to, like you said, really concentrate on it's a one kick at a time moment. The best guys in the league, Justin Tucker, those guys, you just see them, they're able to repeat their same kick every time, whether it's rainy, cold, windy, whatever the circumstances, they're able to repeat the process.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, just, I think Justin Tucker is probably the best kicker of all time at this point. I mean, the guy can sing opera in several different languages. I mean, the guy's just a phenomenon. And, but, it's one of those things where, that's that's what the game, demands of you. So, you either accept it, and you work on it, or you don't, and either you have that makeup or you don't. A lot of it's genetics for guys, who make it in the NFL. Like for the kicker, like either you have that pop or you don't, and so yeah, I mean it's nervous, it's stressful, but that's what that entails. So either you can accept it and deal with it, go with the flow, know that there are going to be bad times and as well as good times, and you can never get too high, you can never get too low. So it's and I always say you learn more from your failures and your successes, and so you have to know that that's going to come with it, and it's just at the time I didn't really I just did it. I went through it, and you just have to be able to put things out of your mind, and at the end of the day, you just have to have skin like a rhinoceros. You just have thick skin, knowing that people are going to talk trash about you, or the media is going to not say good things about you, and you just have to be able to handle it.
What do you think about the NFL rules today with moving up the kickoffs and backing up the extra points? I mean, how do you feel you would do today in today's NFL kicking game?
Yeah, well, kickoffs, that'd be great, right? So it's funny because the kickoff used to be at the 35 when I first came in, and you could still use that 3-inch tee. And then my second year, they moved it back to the 1-inch tee to 30 because they wanted more kickoff returns.
Right.
And now, and now like, oh wait, too many concussions, and so, and then, it was, 30-yard line all the way, till after I finished playing. And so that's pretty fun part of it. Near the end of my career is when they had the K-ball rule, but the new extra point, I mean, it's a mindset. I would have just approached like a 33-yard field goal.
Right.
You see a lot of guys kicking it from the middle. I think I'd probably be in the left hash and treating it like a 33-yard field goal every single time, and trying to do my best to think of it that way. And like, oh my God, it's a long extra point. I better make it type deal, because that's when you get a lot of pressure on yourself. Like, I got to make, because it's a cardinal sin to miss one, and now I'm still supposed to make it, but it's further back. So I think I would just approach it. Hey, it's another 33-yard chip shot.
All right, a couple more. We'll get you out of here, Michael. Talk about the relationships you created. Obviously, with the Buccaneer guys, you were there as part of, especially with the Dungy guys, you were there as part of that building block of what the franchise has now turned into. Just talk about the relationships you probably still have with guys that you Lynch and those kind of guys that you played with back in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I live where I live now because of John Lynch. So John Lynch is from Solana Beach. It's North County, San Diego, and the first time I ever stepped foot in California was when we played the LA Raiders that year, and then became really good friends with Demetrius DeBose and John Lynch during our rookie year. And John was getting married in the off season, so he invited me out to his wedding, and come out to this town called Solana Beach. I'm like, what the hell is this place? I'm like, I want to move here one day, and so eventually I had the opportunity to do so. And so I still keep in touch with John. I'll text him beginning of the season. I went up to a game 2 years ago and saw him, before the game. I still stay in good touch with Martin Mayhew, who's out of GM for Washington.
Right.
I know I can text Tony and he'll get back to me, but I try to, minimize those, those texts. And once in a while still Brad Culpepper, but it's all about respect, right? So people ask me like, oh, did you get a lot of crap when you were kicking the NFL? And I didn't. And it's one of those things where high school, all those guys, you've grown up with them, so they don't really give you shit, give you crap, right? College is probably where you get the most crap because guys are from all over. But in the NFL, you get there, they're like, hey man, you're here, you made it, you must be pretty good. And so right. I think there's that instant level of respect, but I had some really good relationships with guys in the team. I always made it a point to like not be that quirky kicker. I mean, I felt like the best way I could get respect is by hitting people on kickoffs. And so being able to hit somebody, being able to stick them, getting your teammates excited, that gives you a lot of good respect as a kicker, on a team. And so, I was cool with everybody, and everybody liked me. And, I'll go back to games and, when I go back to Tampa, go to a game or something, I'll see everybody and everyone's like, hey, what's up? What's up, Husted? So it's pretty cool. And again, like you make it, not many people make it. And so, like I said, no matter what, you kind of have that respect for each other.
How much do you miss the NFL, and how many times a day do you think about it? And besides the teammates and, the friendships, what else do you miss about the game in itself?
So I went to a Raiders Broncos game a couple weeks ago because I wanted to see the new stadium in Vegas, and, pre-game warm up and all that, I'm watching that and like, I miss being out there, miss being on the field. I miss the excitement, the adrenaline rush. But probably the thing I miss the most is the locker room. There's just so many great guys, so many dynamic personalities, just so many,
guys from every walk of life, economic, socially, politically, everything.
Yeah. You have a couple of guys come in, they're just like a jokester. They liven up the, locker room when they walk in. Some guys, like, hey, just leave them alone. But, I probably miss that the most. But I just miss the excitement, the adrenaline rush of game day and, hearing the crowd when you kick a big field goal or game winner. So those things like that. All the bad stuff I don't miss, but we can't do it forever. It was definitely, I'd do it all over again. Paycheck aside or whatever, just the atmosphere of, hey, you worked so hard your whole life to get somewhere, and then you reach that at an early age. I think it kind of helps you with confidence the rest of your life and knowing that, hey man, I achieved something that most people don't achieve. I achieved that at early age. In fact, I was out somewhere, and I think I was at a bar, and I was just hanging out, and this woman came up, started talking, like, so what do you do? Like, you have this like this silent confidence about you, like, something that's like, I don't know, I'm me, like. So someone finally told him I played in the NFL. I go, that's why, and like you were successful at an early age and things like that. So, that it definitely helps out. But I'm all about humility and being humble. I really don't tell anybody what I used to do. I try to when I meet someone, I want them to know me for first, and then once they find out, they're like, oh, how come you didn't tell me? I'm like, I wanted you to get to know me for me first. And that way you'll like me even more, because someone knows at first, and I'm like, I don't know, they're gonna like me for me, or they're gonna like me because of what I used to do, type thing. Especially when I was playing for the Bucs, and then you meet a woman, chicks or something, like, okay, do you really like me or not? Like, I'm not gonna let you do that to me. I've seen all those Sean Kemp stories, So,
well, man, yeah. I mean, well, Michael, man, you had an unbelievable journey to the Bucs. You were a hell of a Buck. You were there during some great times in the building. You had a great career. We want to really thank you for being a part of the No Quarter Given podcast, part of the BuckPower.com podcast network. You're a Buck legend, even though I know you don't want to say that. And he's also, fans, he was at the clinching game between the Padres and the Dodgers in the rain when the Padres beat the Dodgers to get to the NLCS. That's now tied 1-1. So that sounds like he's a big Padre fan.
Yep. Yeah, go Padres, man. It's exciting, and like the Dodgers have swept us all season long. And I would tell people, like, hey, look, in the NFL, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one year.
Right.
And I said the Dodgers have swept us all season long. It's hard to sweep the whole season. And I knew that wasn't going to happen. We've got good chemistry, with the Padres. I mean, we got some good bats. We got some good pitching now. So it's an exciting time to be in San Diego, and should be a good series, good pennant series, and we'll see what happens from there.
Well, Michael, como está Husted? We appreciate the time, my man. Keep up the great work. Michael's got a great kicking program that he runs out in California, around the country. Works with high school and college guys and pro guys. So check out Michael on Google him. You can definitely check him out, and he does a great job. So appreciate the time, Michael. Appreciate you being a part of the No Quarter Given podcast.
Hey, muy bien. Thank you very much, guys. All right, take care, man.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Have a great week.
All right, thanks.